Good morning. This is Lance Kenmore with the Kenmore Team, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's edition of the Tri-Cities Real Estate Update. As always, you can contact me, Lance Kenmore, anytime direct on my cell phone at 509-727-8977, or go to kenmoreteam.com and shoot us a message. That works just as well. Once again, I always like to thank Mr. John McKay for hosting, and everybody here at the station for working to make this show happen. John McKay, how have you been?
Well, it's been kind of a ghost town around here.
Absolutely, man. It has been, I can't believe it's been a week since we did the show. So much has happened in a week. We have a lot to be reporting this week. Really what's happening this week is we're going to talk a lot about what has changed in the real estate industry since our show last week in the last 7 days, and boy, it has been a lot. So kind of though, we can start off with a little bit of fun. We always like to have our segment, the crazy national celebrity real estate story. And if you remember, McKay, 3 weeks ago, I did a show anticipating that some of this was coming called panic selling in a down market or an event that would happen. So really interesting to get now from robreport.com a listing for what they say luxury bargain hunters. So this is called Villa Turca, which is a 20,000 square foot oceanfront estate in Nassau. I mean, I'm not an expert in Bahamas how to say it. Yeah. But in Nassau, in Paradise Island in the Bahamas, there was a property that hit the market a year ago for $39 million. Wow. Now, today, the price has been realigned or dropped to $24 million. Almost a 37% price drop in that property. And we talked about in that show 3 weeks ago, vacation properties being the hardest hit in a situation like is going on with our pandemic, with COVID-19. We are now already, just 3 weeks later, starting to see massive price drops in those markets already. Beautiful, beautiful property though. 1.5 acres. Built in 2005, all custom built, 12 bedrooms and 17 bathrooms. Wow. And the property was primarily used for family events and trips and holidays and entertaining. But it's just one of those things where they're realistically looking at what has happened to the value of that now. Wow. With people not traveling, people not going to those vacation markets. So I had a number of conversations with clients that called me this week because we've been fielding a lot of those calls. And like I said, I just want to reach out to the public, to our Tri-Cities community out there and say, if you have questions about real estate during this time, I am on the phones more than I have been in the last 3 months. And that is partly because a lot of us, we have to be on the phones now to talk to each other. But I am just burning up the cell phone, McKay. I mean, because with team meetings, we're also using our Microsoft Teams, we're using our Zoom meetings. Those are some major changes that we have made, but we're also fielding a lot of calls from the community because we realize people are nervous out there. This is a time of uncertainty. They don't know what the market's gonna look like. So we're talking to a lot of folks about what are your goals, what do you need to do when the stay-at-home order lifts, those type of things. But let's jump right into it to talk about what has changed in real estate in the last 7 days in Washington. So everybody is familiar. Last week, issued the COVID-19 stay-at-home, stay-healthy order. We thought prior to when we aired the radio show last week, we thought prior to that real estate would likely be listed as an essential service because a number of states had gone that direction. That was not the case in Washington. Real estate listed as non-essential business. Now, I'm just going to take a moment out there because I've had a lot of talks with people. A lot of people in Tri-Cities, business owners, community leaders, their businesses are suffering.
Yeah.
And our heart goes out to those families, and I want you to know that we are there with you. When your business is listed as non-essential and you employ a number of people in the Tri-Cities and they're depending on those paychecks and their family that is a lot to deal with. And we don't take that lightly. I've had a number of conversations with, people that are hurting, business owners having to make hard decisions of what they are going to do with their employees. Are they going to do temporary layoffs? Are they going to do reduction of work hours? And I'm not against saying, and I'm not too proud to say, I've seen some tears out there, and I've been on those phone conversations with people that were extremely upset, and it's been a tough week. So for those out there, our heart goes out to you, our prayers go out to you guys and your family and our local residents. And at this time frame, we can be a resource of questions and a sounding board for what you're trying to do. So number one, that is the biggest thing I just wanted to say is give us a call, reach out. If you have any questions, let us know. There are some things that we can do, and there's a lot of things we can't do, which was really surprising. So with our business being listed as non-essential, there are some questions that the real estate industry had right off the bat. And that was, can real estate brokers provide private showings for buyers using social distancing? Absolutely not. So right now, during the stay-at-home, stay-healthy order, that is considered a real estate brokerage services. The real estate agents are not to be out showing houses. They're not to be out photographing houses or doing virtual tours. I will tell you, when the order came down on Monday and we figured this out, we had that 48-hour block of time and our team went into overdrive. Our photographers and our 3D virtual tours, any potential listings that were coming up and that people were wanting to have on the market during this time period, we put in the extra hours. We got those 3D virtual tours done. We got those photos done that needed to be done so that the consumers could go to kenmoreteam.com. You can click on those virtual walkthroughs, and it's really the next best thing to being there at the house. So we got a lot of that done, and you're going to see when I do the pick 3 today, because of that, we've actually been putting new inventory on the second half of this week. So, so when this order is lifted and you're ready to go out there and be looking, you're going to have already seen those properties. My agents are also on the phones doing phone consultations, doing Facebook walkthroughs with the owners of certain properties, and then putting offers together still contingent upon in-person viewing when the stay-at-home order is lifted. So there's some things we can do to make sure that you're first in line when the stay-at-home order is lifted. Number 2, biggest question that we were getting, this coming from the Washington Realtors Legal Hotline attorney, Annie Fitzsimmons. Number 2 question that we're getting, can home inspections occur while the emergency order is in effect? Once again, that is a no in most cases. The official stance that is coming from the Washington Realtors is a unequivocally no. Does that mean that you're not seeing that or hearing about that happen in the Tri-Cities? I can't confirm that is the case because there's been some rumors going around, but official policy coming from the Washington Realtors, no home inspections allowed during that time period, not an exemption that was listed. So what does that mean to an existing deal that had a 10-day home inspection prior to the stay-at-home order? Now we have a 14-day stay-at-home order, and the home inspector can't go out. Generally, what happens with a buyer with our Washington state contracts is in that time period, within that 10 days, if you do not disapprove the home inspection, then it is deemed automatically approved. That creates a massive problem for the buyer. What has happened, which is things have moved so quickly in the last 7 days, what has happened is our association and the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, Washington Association of Realtors, has produced a new form called the 22FM, and it is called Force Majeure. Force Majeure and Closing Addendum to the Purchase and Sale Agreement. I never saw this coming in our industry, that I would think there would be an event like this would happen that would shut down 3 of my 4 businesses, and we would be producing new addendums to deal with that event. So, interesting. What is force majeure? So, force majeure is, and it states that neither party shall be liable to the other or deemed in default under this agreement if to the extent of such parties' timely performance is prevented by reason of a force majeure event. Force majeure event means an occurrence that is beyond the control of the party affected and could not have been avoided by exercising reasonable diligence, making the means of performance objectively impossible. Force majeure events include acts of God, wars, riots, strikes, fires, floods, epidemics, and other similar occurrences. In English, what this is saying is that if you have this as a term of your agreement and something like this happens, you can negotiate a certain amount of days that automatically extend your contingencies within that agreement. However, important to note, and a lot of people in our industry do not understand this document is a negotiated term between both parties. This doesn't mean that we can just automatically insert it into the agreement with the signature of one party. What we are doing, though, because I tell you there's a lot of understanding and compassion out there, in contracts, that's not usually words that I use very often, is understanding and compassion, but there is, and there's also some cases where there is not. I will tell you, this is not 100% acceptance across the board. What we have done is we have been in overdrive on the phone with our pending transactions, our buyers and sellers that are in those current situations, and we've been working with the other agents and both sides to get agreement on force majeure and add that to the transactions that needed it. That is buying our buyers and sellers some time to get these things done, and hopefully still, if both parties want to, get that transaction to closing. Now, I will tell you, real estate was deemed non-essential in the means of providing brokerage services in person. It was not. We can still work remotely. We can still work via video chat and be on the phones, because escrow and title services fall under financial institutions. And so escrow and title are still open to process the transaction and get it recorded. However, this does present a whole new set of challenges for us as real estate agents, because one of the things that comes out in our frequently asked questions is we can close the transaction through title and escrow. We can help facilitate that paperwork, but something as simple as a key handover Generally, the real estate agent would go out to the house, get the keys out of the lockbox, and give it to the new buyers. By the strict interpretation of what has been told, it is the advice of the Washington Realtors that right now, a real estate agent cannot do that. So we are having to find a workaround for the time being, meaning can we have the seller leave the keys at a certain spot for the buyer when they vacate the house? Can they provide a garage code to the buyer to get into and get access to the property for the time being until the order is lifted? We can get out there and take those lock boxes off. Once again, folks, massive changes into how we're operating in the last 7 days.
Wow.
It's been an interesting time, to say the least. But we're working on solutions. We're helping our clients figure out a way to make this happen. In some cases, no action is the only action that we can take for the 14 days. In other cases, we're working directly with the parties involved to figure out a way. We're coming up on our first hard break, McKay. I've got way more information than we've got time on the radio today to talk about. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about a few of the measures that were instituted to help get transactions closed during this stay-at-home order.
Right here on News Talk 870.
Welcome back to the Tri-Cities Real Estate Update. We are here labeled as non-essential, and that hurts, McKay. Absolutely, to close down and not be able to provide real estate brokerage services in person is talk about getting tooled up to operate in a new way. But I gotta hand it, my agents were super flexible. Everybody got the remote workstations set up. Our IT team was great about getting that implemented. We were able to schedule a lot of extra photo sessions before the order went into place so that we could comply and put new property on. So I'm going to start off with some new listings, probably a little more descriptive than I normally am, just because what else do you have to do out there? So here we go. Pick number 1, 664 Sherwood in Richland. This is an ideal South Richland location, walking distance to Orchard Elementary. 2639 square feet, beautiful, spacious home on a large corner lot with a gated RV parking pad. And a welcoming front porch. You've got, when you walk in, you've got a den office, formal dining room, hickory cabinetry and tile flooring, super nice property. Living area with corner gas fireplace, opens to an island kitchen, complete with granite countertops. Main level also has a guest half bath and extra storage off the garage entry. Upstairs, master suite, walk-in closet, private bath. Plus, you're also getting a large bonus room or fourth bedroom option on this. Once again, take a 3D virtual tour of this home from the comfort of your own home while you're in quarantine. And that is priced at $465,000, 664 Sherwood. Pick number 2, 5202 West 19th in Kennewick. This is a Rambler with bonus room in Creekstone. New carpets, 2,400 square feet. Wood floors through the entry and dining, as well as the bonus room and secondary bedrooms. Raised coffered ceilings, split bedroom design, formal dining room adjacent to the large kitchen, also granite counters here. Stainless steel appliances, private master suite with dual sink vanity. Also, this home has approximately 40 solar panels that provide a $2,200 annual rebate and an energy bill of about $20 a month. So Creekstone community, conveniently located to lots of amenities, and that's coming in at $369,500. So great price points there. And then pick number 3, I'm going to take you to North Richland, 120 Spring Street. Very sought after, highly desirable North Richland neighborhood. This is a 3,300 square foot home, custom built, one owner, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, brand new roof that has a transferable 30-year warranty. Lots of charm in this place. Large living room with fireplace, office off entry. You've got then vaulted covered patio with slider access from both the living room and the dining room. So great for entertaining if you're in quarantine, as we like to say these days. Upper level has a large master suite with an ensuite bath, his and her closets, 2 secondary bedrooms with full hall bath with dual sink vanity. Really, really nice property built on 0.3 of an acre, also a corner lot, 2-car attached garage, 2-car carport, and extra off-street parking. So lots of parking space, fully cedar fenced backyard with mature landscaping. Once again, this is coming in at $335,000. Hard to find those in that North Richland neighborhood. So once again, thank you to Tara and Heather on our staff. Like I say, they put in some serious hours getting those listings photographed, measurements done prior to the stay-at-home order so that we can put that on, and those listening at home or in quarantine have a chance to go and check those properties out. What else is happening with COVID-19 in relation to real estate in the Tri-Cities? But on this one, I'm going to digress a little bit to nationally what's going on with lending. And I will tell you that it's a little bit scary in the lending industry right now, because there's some things that have happened and kind of some unintended consequences with what's going on with the Fed and lenders right now. So a little bit of background. When you think of your lender, your Wells Fargo, your JP Morgan, your Home Advantage, when you think of these folks, you think of who you send your payment to, but a lot of times after your mortgage loan is done, that's not necessarily where your mortgage is housed at. Generally, that is known as what is a servicer. So for instance, they will get your loan done, they will package it up, and then it is bundled and sold to an agency like you might have heard in the news, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or Ginnie Mae. So these are, the government purchases these loans, bundles them up, and then they're put into what's called an MBS, a mortgage-backed security. And that can be sold to the public. So what will happen is you'll see that in investments like mutual funds or insurance plans or even retirement accounts. So the servicers, though, their role is super critical. So they maintain where they will service that loan, even though they don't own the underlying asset anymore. Well, generally what they'll do is they will pay upfront 1% of that loan amount to be the servicer, okay? And then in general, I'm rounding here, but they will get roughly what's called in the industry 30 basis points. So they will get then 1/3 basically of that amount every year for servicing that loan. So if you look and they pay up front 1% and they're getting roughly 0.3, the servicers in the industry have a break-even point of roughly 3 years. Well, what happens is when rates drop drastically, you get a lot of people bailing early on their mortgage through what's called refinancing. So if they refinance, if rates have dropped enough where they refinance prior to that happening, then the servicer in that particular case is going to likely be then losing money on that loan. And so generally what happens is they have a cushion to account for this, but we have other things happening now on the other side of the equation. And that is, in general, the servicer is responsible for sending in each month to the owner that payment, meaning kind of like property management in a real simple instance. They take the payment from the tenant, i.e. the borrower, then they make their servicing amount on that, and then they pass it on to the landlord, in this case, the owner of that security. Well, what happens is on the other end of the business, they are also doing new loans. That same servicer is running new loans. So in the business, what they have to do, and a lot of times, is they are locking for borrowers. You've heard lock your interest rate. Well, what happens is when they lock a rate for that borrower, and then rates go down drastically, and now the borrower cannot cover because they've had an employment issue. They've been laid off. They're in furlough now. It's hard to get at the very end of a loan before a lender closes. They do what's called a VOE, verification of employment. A lot of people across the country, those departments, those HR departments that do the VOEs, they are in a position now where they've gone to minimum staffing. They can't get those out as fast as they used to be. In some cases, if the employee's on furlough, they can't even verify that the employee still works there, so they don't do the loan. They're not able to get the loan closed. And in worst case scenarios too, the servicer now is facing what's called a first payment delinquency. And when you have a first payment delinquency, the servicer is holding the entire amount of that loan, and that is prior to them, what I talked about before, making that package that then they will sell to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Well, first payment delinquencies are not eligible to be sold in those packages. So now you've got the loan servicer who is losing money because people are refinancing at a lower rate that has been driven down. They also have a number of loans that they have closed on but have not sold in the secondary market that they're now having to hold on their books and cannot sell. And these institutions, they have what's called ratios where they can only have so many of those loans on their books at one time. And so you have this basically in the lending business, this perfect storm of problems that are brewing right now, partly because rates have been driven down, partly because the government is actually causing those rates to be driven down, which is for a good reason, and then now they are increasing their buying power to keep the rates down. But it is creating, there will be some things coming out in the lending industry that we will see because this virus has caused a perfect storm of issues at the same time of historically low rates. I wanted people to have a little perspective of the larger picture. A lot of times we talk about rates are low. It's your payment's lower as the borrower because rates are low right now. Well, that will help us a lot in the recovery when the consumers start buying again and people are back to work and we come out of this. Right now, I don't think, being perfectly honest, there's a lot of people that really care how low rates are because they have much bigger problems. So just kind of looking at that macro perspective, I wanted to get that out there so people had some background on what was going on. KenmoreTeam.com, that is our website. Those contact points are the fastest and best way to get to us. We are up and running and working remotely. Our staff and our agents that answer those emails are working from home and do have access to those questions. My cell phone is also available to you at 727-8977. Reach out if you have any questions at all. If I don't pick up, I'm probably on another call, but leave a message and we're getting those returned and jamming those calls out. I mean, as a community, we are in this together.
Yep.
Working virtually and working remotely. I'm Lance Kenmore with the Kenmore Team. And we will be right back here next week.
Right here on News Talk 870.